Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we take two or more fictional characters and smash them together in a battle of strength, or wits, or which fluffy little avatar of an all-powerful deity wants to tell me, Rob? Who's the most pussy little pussy in the whole wide world? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And argue about who would win. This week, Aslan versus Amaterasu. Sitting on a tree stump outside the entrance to the old cathedral, Deckard Cain looked up and checked the position of the moon. Sunrise was just an hour or two away now, and that group of 3 adventurers that went down to the catacombs to slay the mysterious ancient evil within still hasn't returned. This was not a good sign. He was about to give up on the lot and go drown his sorrows in the Tavern of the Rising Sun when, bloodied, bruised, and backlit in an eerie red light, the cunning rogue from the Brotherhood of the Sightless Eye, Jonas Kramer, stumbled out of the cathedral entrance and collapsed on the wet grass outside. Moments later, the brilliant Vizjeri sorcerer Geoffrey Ketchum limped out behind him, using his magic staff as a makeshift crutch. He similarly fell to his knees alongside his companion and looked up into the unfathomable depths of the night sky above, grateful to be alive, but not grateful for much else. "How did it go?" asked Deckard Cain. "And wasn't there a third one of you, a warrior?" Jonas spoke. He stayed behind to fight off that monster that called itself the Butcher so that me and Geoffrey could escape. "Yeah," said Geoffrey. "I think he was going to try some sort of plan involving trapping him in a room and shooting arrows at him through the bars. He had some theory about how the Butcher couldn't open doors, but we hadn't heard from him since, so who knows how well that worked out. Anyway, we will remember him fondly, I guess." "Yeah," said Jonas. "What was his name again? Aiden or something?" Deckard Cain nodded solemnly. "Well, you did fine work today, young adventurers. Rest well, stock up on healing potions, and we can try again tomorrow night." "Fuck that noise," said Geoffrey. "We came here because we heard that y'all had a little monster problem in your church, and we thought we could grind here for a bit and grab some easy gold and XP. Deckard Cain was unsure of what all of this meant, but figured it was some sort of strange slang that young people were using nowadays, and again nodded solemnly as if he understood. "Yeah, man," said Jonas. "There's no end to these freaking catacombs. As soon as we're done healing, we're making a beeline for the Forgotten Tower in the Black Marsh. Now that's a dungeon." Deckard Cain, not surprised but still disappointed, turned his back on the pair and wandered back through what passed for Tristram's downtown area, namely a bar, a blacksmith, and a drunk guy passed out on a street corner. The town had fallen on hard times, and they were by no means improving. Adventurers weren't going to be enough to solve this problem, it seemed. Deckard Cain would need to get a bit more creative. Back in his bedroom, Cain knelt at the foot of his bed. "I don't know exactly to whom I'm meaning to pray," he asked. "I have knelt here, night after night, and prayed to all the gods of Sanctuary to save this town, but none have answered my prayers. I know that evil is real, true evil, a black so black that it turns a burning red, like an endless ocean of blood, unlit by sun or stars. I know that it is something I can put my faith in. I'm less certain, however, when it comes to good. I believe that if there ever was anything good at all in this world, it died long ago, but on the off chance that somewhere out there, someone good and powerful is listening, there are people here, innocent people. They're suffering. They're dying. They need hope. Whoever you are, if you truly exist, they need you. If you can save our town, then we pledge to you our unending loyalty and worship." It was at this point that Deckard Cain heard a rattling coming from his wardrobe. A moment later, the doors were flung open, and a giant shimmering golden lion stepped out with a confident and dignified strength. "You called?" the lion asked, smiling. Deckard Cain dropped to his hands and knees. "I am Aslan," he said. "I come from a world known as Narnia, a world that has known many troubles throughout its days, but currently is experiencing a time of relative peace. I can see that for now, this world needs me far more than my own. I sense a great evil beneath Tristram, great not because of the power it wields, but because of its persistence. Whomsoever slays this evil..." Suddenly, the windows to Cain's bedroom were flung open. A warm spring breeze entered the room, and leaves and flower petals danced on that breeze, filling the room with a sweet smell of perfume. Then a second creature entered the room, leaping through the window with both speed and grace. A white wolf with strange red tattoo-like markings and a floating, burning disc of stone hovering above its back. Cain noticed that everywhere the wolf stepped, new flowers would grow and bloom at an alarming speed, even indoors. Clearly, this was no ordinary wolf. It let out a triumphant howl. A small creature not bigger than an insect trailed behind the wolf. Deckard kneeled down to look at it and saw it was some sort of tiny humanoid fairy creature with a large green helmet made of a beetle shell. "Are we too late to join in?" he asked. Deckard Cain was still speechless from the first creature, but Aslan spoke. And who are you? Oh, I'm Aslan, he said. A moment later, the wolf nudged him with its nose. Oh, and this is Amaterasu. She's the goddess of the sun and the heavens and the protector of, good people and stuff. Amaterasu barked in agreement. Ah, well, thank you very much, Amaterasu, said Aslan, but the matter is already being handled. You are free to return to wherever it is you came from. Amaterasu snarled at the lion. Yeah, you tell him, Ami. We arrived on this plane a few seconds before you, but we only got to this dude's room second because we traveled here by tree portal, and you cheated by traveling here by wardrobe. Aslan growled. Now listen here, you flea-bitten mongrel. Deckard Cain finally found his voice. Actually, if you don't mind, Tristram is in pretty rough shape right now and we can kind of use all the help we can get. The town of Tristram needs saving. A prayer has been sent out to the heavens, and the two greatest fuzzy-wuzzy deities in the multiverse have answered. Aslan, the king of beasts, and Amaterasu, the sun goddess. But which one will be the new deity of Tristram, and perhaps even the lands beyond? The winner of this match is whoever can gain more followers through acts of heroism and kindness. In order to accomplish this goal, our competitors will have to achieve 2 tasks. First, clean out the dungeons beneath Tristram Cathedral, kill Diablo, and use your divine powers to smash his soul stone forever so that he cannot reincarnate. You can do this alone, or you can inspire the people of Tristram into forming some sort of militia that you can lead deep down into the depths of hell. But given that there's like 6 people left in Tristram who aren't dead, you might have to hit a few neighboring towns to fill out those numbers.
And one of the little kid, as I recall.
Yes. The second part of the challenge lies in touching the hearts of the people of Tristram. Will you give inspiring speeches to rally the people? Or, inspiring howls? Will you create a new sign over the Tavern of the Rising Sun? Will you finally cure Wirt's missing leg? The world of Diablo is a dangerous place, and so even if you do defeat the evil that lurks below the town, there are other evils in this world. What can you do to ensure the continued faith and love of your people, and the continued prosperity of your town? And finally, tonight we answer perhaps the deepest and most profound question that we have ever addressed in the history of this podcast. Hey guys, what's better, kitties or puppies? After that last debacle where I repped Hades and may or may not have dropped the G-bomb a couple of times, I've banned myself from weighing in on any matches involving any sorts of figures of worship, and that is why I, Colin Mulcairn, will be your judge this week. Representing Team Aslan, we have MeganBob,
Lion Christ, superstar, are you furry Jesus like they say you are? Oh my god, yes!
And Dan Mulcairn.
Jesus Christ, Lion God, he'll prove this son wolf is just a fraud.
Yay!
We came up with that independently.
Wow!
Yeah, we did not collaborate on that at all.
I was having a little bit of conflicting thoughts about just how explicit we were going to get with that whole metaphor.
Right.
Thank you guys for just blowing that shit right out of the water.
Right off the bat.
Representing Team Amaterasu are Kit Mulcairn.
Amaterasu, origin of all that is good and mother to us all. I apologize that it has taken this long to see you at a match. I, Hagegami, god of feistiness, will advocate for you. Use my small but fiery power to illuminate their bullshit.
And Miles Schneiderman.
So, I really was trying to find a quote from the Narnia series for this, but I didn't want to sound like a racist or a sexist or someone who hates the education system. So, more like Aslan, am I right?
Oof. The claws come out early.
Rare. In order to figure out which team gets to go first this week, I tasked the advocates with picking me out a cute little fuzzy-wuzzy friend from the local animal shelter. Team Amaterasu brought back this 8-year-old white Labrador with a red collar who apparently used to belong to a family called the Griffins. He drinks a lot of wine and listens to jazz and seems to have a lot of ennui, so he's not really what I'm looking for at this point. Team Aslan, on the other hand, brought back this fuzzy white and brown thing, kind of looks like a Furby. I was told to keep it out of bright light and not get it wet and something else. I don't remember, I wasn't listening, but he just seems great and like best pet ever, so yeah, no problems here.
I think somewhere down the line you'll regret choosing the one over the other.
I don't know, man.
Depends on how late he stays up.
Well, it depends on how late we're recording.
Yeah, very true.
Team Aslan will be going first this week. Team Aslan, with the sound of your roar, make Team Amaterasu no more.
Is that Power Rangers?
No, it's Narnia.
Oh, it sounds so Power
Clearly you did a lot of research for this match.
I know which side I was like focusing on, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That division is going to become super clear in a little bit.
I'm sorry you had to judge this one, Colin. You have a reputation for disliking talk of godlike creatures, and here you are, having to adjudicate a fight between two characters who, for all intents and purposes, are both gods. Or at least that's the way it might seem, but here's some good news for you, bud. Within the confines of this match, only one of these characters is an actual god, and it ain't Amaterasu.
Aslan's resume is the kind that's so impressive that you can only fit in the highlights before you just look like you're bragging. Aslan has brought armies to victory, he's dealt with powerful magic users, he's brought a dead king back to life, and he sang a world into being. An entire dimension with a sun, moon, stars, creatures including unicorns, and then he imbues animals with the ability to talk. Alas for Amaterasu that she wasn't around when Aslan was handing out the vocal cords, because it's incredibly handy to speak. Aslan can address himself to the people of Tristram and explain who he is and help give them guidance instead of just showing up with powers blasting and hoping the village folk get the picture. Amaterasu is probably going to have to bark and gesture Lassie style. What's that, Amy? Your astral pouch fell down the old well? Now, Amaterasu does have powers worthy of respect, but they're simply not in the same power ranking as someone who can magically turn a regular cab horse into a talking Pegasus. Amaterasu has other gods in the pantheon with her, other people to share the burden of looking after people. Narnia has a pantheon of one, and it's Aslan. He is powerful in ways that break magical spells like the White Witch's Permawinter or Eustace's dragon curse in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. He protects the futures of his followers like the horse and his boy. In the last battle, he shows that he's got the power to bring down Ragnarok-style destruction by calling upon time itself. Wolf Bob Ross Amaterasu, and those happy little trees have a lot of painting to do to catch up to that power level.
Oh, I love that. That's really good.
Bob Ross Amaterasu? Yeah.
Any reference to Bob Ross is always going to win us at least a few points with Judge Colin.
Right?
You guys are off. Like, I'm ignoring the rest of the argument so far. That one joke has brought you up to a very strong lead.
I mean, I just want you to picture, like, Amaterasu, but with a big white fro.
I'm loving
All right,
it.
carry on.
There's a ton of stories about what Amaterasu does as a goddess. The other gods of Nippon refer to her as origin of all that is good and mother to us all. Presumably she's done stuff like create the sun, or invent smiles, or any number of other Genesis-style stuff. But how much of that stuff do we actually see her do in her wolf form in the game Okami? None whatsoever. In this game, Amaterasu is really just a god in name only. Once you look past the mythology to what she's actually able to do, Amaterasu is just another run-of-the-mill action-adventure video game hero, no different from your Lynx or your Samus's Aran. Now, there's certainly nothing wrong with being a run-of-the-mill action-adventure video game hero, but Aslan is a straight-up actual god. You think Aslan ever had to go on a huge side quest to learn a technique so that he could move a boulder out of his path? Aslan is capable of performing legit miracle-level stuff at any point in his lion form, because it's not really a lion form, it's just him. His form. His actual god bod. In contrast, Amaterasu can only meaningfully interact with the world on the level that she needs to in order to win this match when she uses this mortal wolf avatar form. But once she's in this form, she's not capable of accessing the same level of world-shaping god powers that are always available to Aslan.
Aslan faces off against enemies with magical powers, against armies, against death itself, and against human bullying. The task of dealing with Tristram's problems is the very smallest of potatoes in comparison. He kills the White Witch with his own 2 paws, and probably teeth. He inspires courage in his followers in the battle against the White Witch and the Narnian Revolution, where he called on a freaking river god to smash the competition. Not even calls on the river god. The river god was like, "Hey, Aslan! I want to help you, bro!" In the silver chair, Aslan's blood brings Prince Caspian back to life by reversing his aging and death. These are the kinds of enemies he deals with. Magic, invading forces, and the Grim Reaper. In the human world, he can still affect change like scaring the bejesus out of bullies and roaring a wall to pieces, which he then repairs pretty much by telling the wall to pull itself together. Aslan's dad jokes aside, this shows us that Aslan's powers aren't limited to Narnia. He has power wherever he happens to be, and he will have his substantial powers in Tristram. In terms of facing against the frailty of faith, Despite the time that has elapsed in the human world and in Narnia, people believe in him and are loyal to him. Against the difficulty of tough believers, the kind that believe in almost nothing, he still comes out on top. Even the most pessimistic chucklefuck in all of Narnia, Puddleglum the Marshwiggle, is on Team Aslan, saying, I'm on Aslan's side, even if there isn't any Aslan to lead it. Puddleglum may as well have ripped open his shirt to reveal a giant chest tattoo of Aslan's face.
Wolf Amaterasu's most impressive powers are the ones she can use with her celestial brush. But that's just the thing. Her most impressive powers aren't actually hers. All of the brush techniques are ones she learns from other deities, and if she ever happens to lose the brush, she loses access to those powers. Now I know what you're thinking. Amaterasu never actually loses the celestial brush in Okami. It's pretty unlikely she'd lose it here. But guess what? Even if she manages not to lose the brush, those techniques require a huge supply of magic ink to pull off. So Ol Ami can only conjure up a couple of old-timey bombs before she runs out of juice and suddenly can't use any brush techniques. Oh yeah, and when she's out of ink, not only can she not use the celestial brush, she can't do anything supernatural. No weapons, no powers, just weird wolfy kung fu until she can make a trip to Staples to buy more ink cartridges. That's a pretty significant limitation on your divine might. Know how many times Aslan says, oh, I'd like to be able to open a portal between Narnia and Earth, but I need to gather more mana potions first. I'll give you a hint, it's the same number of times you ever see Aslan lose a fight. That number is 0. But empty ink jars is far from the only circumstance in which Amaterasu can lose her powers. In Okami, the final battle involves the main villain Yami removing Amaterasu's magical abilities multiple times. And Yami, by the way, is a tiny fish living in a bowl of water. Aslan has proven that he's capable of dispelling enemy magic like he does with Jadis's Winter Curse and petrification spells in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. If a decidedly non-divine fish could strip Amaterasu of her power, I'm willing to bet that the definitively divine Aslan can do so easily. And I haven't even touched on who has the superior ability to inspire others and gather followers. But rest assured, that race isn't even close. In Wardrobe, the very mention of Aslan's name has a physiological effect on the Pevenses, even when it's the first time hearing his name, even when they don't even know who he is. In The Horse and His Boy, the horse Hwin says to Aslan, please, you're so beautiful. You may eat me if you like. I'd sooner be eaten by you than fed by anyone else.
Oh, that's a fetish.
Dude, direct quote.
Oh, God, you freaky Narnia.
Don't yuck her yum, man. We see in The Magician's Nephew that Aslan's very presence inspires immediate awe in any who see him, and that devotion runs profoundly deep. In contrast, Amaterasu has to go on countless fetch quests, digging up turnips, helping people with their laundry, finding misplaced family heirlooms, before even one person realizes that she's a god, much less consents to joining her religion. Amaterasu's journey to being worshipped is an uphill one, strewn with innumerable time-wasting stumbling blocks, and by the time she gets to the top of that hill, she's gonna find that Aslan was sitting on top the whole time.
In bringing people to the cause, Aslan has multiple advantages. He is canonically revered. His very presence brings bravery and comfort to those around him, which anyone facing off against a threat is definitely going to appreciate. He breathes on people and they are no longer afraid. People bury their faces in his mane and they're comforted. That's the kind of personal touch that convinces people to side with you. The powers are undeniably impressive, but his capacity to encourage and support people is really what clinches it. And not just the people who have a loyal track record. Even those who betray him are given a second chance. Is it a good tactical move to sacrifice himself to the White Witch for that little Turkish delight fiend Edmund? In the very short term, no, it's idiotic. In the slightly less short term, it's a move that shows A, his own immortal power, B, his unbreakable forgiveness and love for his people, and C, his willingness to stand between his people and danger no matter what. He got all of that mileage out of a single choice to protect Edmund. Aslan's other superpower is that he instantaneously wins over people who he arguably abducts. Children minding their own business are suddenly in a completely different world, and they are Aslan fans immediately. That's a worst case scenario for trying to create followers, and Aslan still ends up with people so committed to him that they move to Narnia to become kings and queens. Amaterasu has to work significantly harder to cultivate followers, while Aslan's magic mane is going to be making friends left and right in Tristram. At the end of the day, though, only one god animal brought Father Christmas to come give gifts to their people. Say what you like about crass commercialization of faith, but how can Amaterasu compete with a god who can bring the village of Tristram, a chill old guy with a bag full of hella cool razor scooters?
Where there was only one set of paw prints, it was when you went off hunting for dog bones to restore your HP, while I jumped on my Santa-given razor scooter to lead the people of Tristram to victory against the forces of darkness. Enjoy the bones!
Man.
Right.
Hey, Dan, you said strewn. It was great.
I sure did.
Guys, good job. I'm already mad.
Good.
Literally, one of my notes says, "What the fuck is Dan talking about?"
Good.
My goal,
You know how I feel
for the
all
rest
the
of the
time.
match is finding excuses to get MeganBob to say the phrase "Puddle Glum the Marshwiggle" again.
I mean, it's not hard. I would say I'll say Puddle Glum the Marshwiggle for any reason. It sounds like the saddest marshmallow flavor.
Team Amaterasu, now is the time. Shine your divine light upon this broken and polluted world.
For anyone listening who was like me and loved the Narnia books as a kid, this is going to be a little tough to hear. You're not going to like it, and I can't promise you these words won't hurt because they will. But as a member of the hallowed judicial body that is Smash Fiction, it is my duty to speak the truth, unlike my opponents. And that includes hard truth. So here goes. Aslan sucks. Look, I know, but I'm telling you, he is the worst, especially at stuff like this. Not only does being the savior of Tristram require Aslan to fight directly against the forces of hell, it also requires him to acquire converts, inspire regular people, and usher the town basically into a new golden age, or at the very least usher it out of the pure black but lit by an ominously pulsing red light age in which it currently exists. And while Aslan appears at first glance to be just the lion for the job, a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh glance reveals that he can't actually perform either of these tasks. Of the 7 Narnia books, we see Aslan fight in precisely one of them, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Now, it's true that once war breaks out between the Narnians and the forces of Jadis the White Witch, he plays a sizable role in winning it for his side. He advises Peter on battle tactics, acquires more forces by freeing the petrified Narnians trapped in the witch's castle, and of course, personally disposes of the witch herself. Now, that sounds impressive, but Tosh is in the details. Peter admits after the battle that they would have been beaten if not for the unexpected bravery of his brother Edmund, who smashed the witch's wand so she couldn't turn them all to stone, an idea that nobody else, including Aslan, had come up with. So much for tactics. And sure, hot cat breath probably stinks a little less when it comes with a free transmute stone to flesh spell, but it's not like Aslan had to fight his way into the witch's castle or anything. She had brought everybody out for the battle and left it completely unguarded. And despite being able to blanket Narnia in an eternal winter for hundreds of years, the magician's nephew makes it clear that Jadis is way less powerful in Narnia than she was in her own world of Charn. I don't know where she got that wand, but as soon as it was gone, she had nothing. If Aslan's greatest accomplishment in combat is eating the face off a magic user who had lost all her magic, that's not much to write home about. Even the witch's army is more like something out of Heroes of Might and Magic than Diablo. You're not up against ogres and hags anymore, Aslan. You have to fight demons now. And the only one you've met before is a dude with 4 arms and a bird's head that you seem to have no interest in actually fighting. He would also be totally lost when it comes to using magic items, seeing as there are only 2 in the whole Narnia series, and they don't come from Aslan, they come from Santa. Lucy's potion of healing is the most amazingly magical thing in those books, and you need like 100 of those to even come close to saving Tristram. Now, as crap as Aslan is at cat judo, he's even worse when it comes to inspiring followers and leading a nation of people either onward or upward. His failings in this regard are continual throughout the series. After creating Narnia in The Magician's Nephew, he sends Diggory on a quest for the apple that will sprout the Tree of Protection, and he tells the Narnians that this tree will protect them from Jadis, who's running around somewhere, but not forever. And sure enough, the next time we see Narnia, she's taken over and Aslan is nowhere to be found. He comes back and everything gets set right, sure, but then in Prince Caspian, we find a Narnia that has been conquered for generations, and in which even the few remaining magical creatures barely remember or believe in Aslan anymore. And then in the last battle, Aslan has been gone for so long that Shift and the Calormenes are able to trick the Narnians into following the kind of out-of-character commands of a donkey dressed in a lion skin, a turn of events that ultimately leads to Narnia being completely taken over by Calormen and then destroyed. There are peaceful times and even golden ages in Narnia, but those aren't Aslan's doing. Those are the work of the human kings and queens. In fact, the extent to which Aslan relies on the independent actions of humans from our world is astonishing. He doesn't show up to end the White Witch's eternal winter until the Pevensey kids happen to accidentally stumble into Narnia through a wardrobe, and the prophesied golden age doesn't begin when Aslan appears, it begins when those kids are crowned at Cair Paravel. Aslan also doesn't show up to reawaken old Narnia after the conquest of the Telmarines until the Pevensies are called back by Caspian and a magic horn, and he doesn't show up at all in the last battle until everything is lost and it's time to end the world. Aslan is reactive, not proactive. He goes on hiatus for hundreds of years. He's temperamental, often described as being as terrifying as he is beautiful, and he's the kind of deity who likes to play mind-fucky test of faith games with his believers, like when he only allows Lucy to see him in Prince Caspian, or takes the most roundabout way possible to help Shasta get back to Archenland and discover his true heritage in The Horse and His Boy. Hell, the whole reason Shift's false Aslan scheme works in the last battle is because Aslan suddenly showing up after hundreds of years and acting like a total prick isn't that unbelievable. As a conversion strategy, being an aloof, manipulative, absentee deity is pretty shitty, and it's probably the main reason Aslan doesn't really convert many people. Jadis' followers don't start worshipping Aslan after they lose. He's got a terrible track record with dwarves, and even Susan, who lived an entire extra life as Queen of Narnia, stops believing in him after a few years, and thus doesn't get into heaven with her family. As far as the Great Lion is concerned, you're either on Team Aslan or you can fuck off. I can think of about 1 million things more inspirational than an attitude like that, and the first one on my list is a badass Japanese sun wolf.
I know what you're all thinking, Tristram. I know. Diablo? That sounds like a problem for Christianity and lying Jesus. But how about going back to our polytheistic roots? Doesn't your town deserve a fresh start? How about a holistic approach?
What are you doing?
Why not give Shinto a try? It puts the holy in holistic because literally everything in nature has a sacred essence, even people. And look right up there. Wait, don't look directly at it. It's the sun. That's right. What I'm thinking you need is the destructive yet life-giving power of the sun. And that's not all. If you buy now, you can get that power wrapped up in a convenient, portable, and majestic wolf package. But wait, there's more. I was just kidding about the buying part because that sun god Amaterasu, origin of all that is good and mother to us all, is free. No catch. In Okami, the game with a story based on Japanese mythology and fairy tales, Amaterasu is a god who saves the entirety of the land of Nippon from the forces of literal darkness and evil that had swept across the country as a horrible, demon-spawning, cursed miasma. Unlike Aslan, she'll put her own furry ass on the line to save people who don't even know she's the fucking sun god. To most people, she just looks like a white wolf with a penchant for listening to humans talk about their problems. In the earliest days, Kamiki village's terrorized denizens actively mistrusted her because they assumed she was another servant of the massive demon lord Orochi. But she died saving the village anyway, and when Orochi was released and fucked with all of Nippon the second time around, she was called upon again and got her furry butt to work right away. When Okami begins, Amaterasu is at bare minimum power and is only aided by the nature spirits that can see her for what she is. Will there be nature spirits in and around Tristram? Unless that village is located on a space station, you bet your ass there will be spirits to guide her. And though Amaterasu will be at peak godly power during this match, Dan, even when she was at her lowest, she could still thoroughly chop, whip, slice, and mid-air bicycle kick the taints off of the wandering demons she'd come across. Pun intended. You heard me right. She mid-air bicycle kicks. Even Diablo would be stunned stupid if he took a paw in the jaw. As the game progresses, Amaterasu acquires her most notable powers, the 13 celestial brush techniques. This allows her to manipulate day and night, slow down time, climb perfectly vertical surfaces, restore broken objects, create and manipulate plants, create bombs, create storm-level gales, manipulate water, fire, electricity, and ice, and slice through just about anything. How's that for a hashtag Danless, boo?
Oh, just give me a sec to respond to each of those, and I'll let you know.
Let's fucking go. I can't wait for rebuttals. And she's skilled at using these abilities in the best possible combinations to quickly take out incredibly powerful demon lords. But when the demons have been cleared from an area, their ravages still remain. Oh wait, no they don't, because like I just mentioned, Amaterasu can restore broken structures and regrow plant life in literally no time. Because time stops when she uses her brush techniques. How do you like my Sumie painting, Aslan? I call it Sun God and Wrecked God. But no, she often doesn't do it alone. Amaterasu is helped by many humans throughout the game that are trying to save their loved ones, their villages, and their cities. Or does she help them? Both. Amaterasu meets many people from all walks of life that struggle with problems as small as a lost pet to problems as country-shaking as a dying emperor. And she helps them all, gaining praise which acts as experience points that increase her health, powers, and skills. All the humans that physically help her along the way choose to do so without any pressure from her. She isn't a military leader like Aslan so much as a radiant beacon of hope and ass-kicking. Playing the game, I never once got the sense that she helped anyone in order to get praise. She just does the right thing because she is, once again, the origin of all that is good. Knowing that the gods were helping them gave the people of Nippon the spirit to fight back against evil, aiding the sun god through prayer, information gathering, and sometimes just straight up fighting alongside her. I have so much faith that Amaterasu is the god for this job that I wrote a haiku about it.
Yay.
In restored Tristram, the sun howls benevolence. A lion skulks off.
Nice.
I was actually considering doing that sound effect at some point. I'm glad you
The
did.
kabuki sounds.
Yeah.
Such divine white light, such beauty and grace. Okay, that is all. The fur is flying. You're fighting like cats and dogs. Right here. Now it's time for rebuttals. Team Aslan, you doubt your value, but don't run from who you are.
Good.
Racist.
Fucking come at me!
Yeah, I'm just gonna fight Miles here for a minute.
Fighting, Bob. Let's do it.
Okay. No, is it you're like, oh, he only fights in the one time. He fights 2 times. Suck it.
What's the second time?
Out of 7 books?
Actually, there's not that much fighting in quite a few of the other books. Like, there's not a war in the Magician's
Oh, poor
Net.
Tristram.
I know.
And
Poor
there's not
Tristram,
a
no
war
fighting.
in The Horse and His Boy. I'm trying to think.
Right.
There's not a war in
Voyage of the Dawn Treader,
Yeah.
no war. Silver Chair, no war.
yeah, all these things,
Yeah.
many non-wars. So then there's like
Yeah.
the 2 things, but the other one was Prince Caspian. The river god pops up and he's like, let me help. And Aslan's like, wreck them. And he's like, yeah. And then Aslan's like, hey, trees, it's time to wake up from your naps.
Hey, Bob, as the judge, am I supposed to understand what the fuck you're talking about right now?
Okay. Narnia had been conquered for generations, and quote-unquote old Narnia had been asleep. The tree spirits and the river spirits specifically had kind of been dormant for a long time, and Aslan wakes them up. Which, it's true. First of all, these were all people that already worshipped him from back in the old days, but he doesn't actually fight Bob. He wakes these people up. In the specific case of the river god, he actually doesn't free the river god. He tells Bacchus to do it.
Yeah, delegation. It's the sign of a good leader.
I mean, or he couldn't do it himself, because Bacchus is like, a pagan sex god.
Well, but
and,
why would a pagan sex god listen to him unless he felt like Aslan made some good points, man?
Dude, I don't know, the relationship is kind of unclear.
I know it is. It's a very. I was like, "Are you guys like college roommates? Why the fuck are you hanging
But
out?"
he actually does not fight at all in that book. He fights one time.
I mean, he's involved. He's not like he's not there.
He runs through
He was
towns.
there, Miles. He was
He
there.
runs through towns, scaring off almost everyone except the occasional person who chooses to join him. That's what he does in that book.
Okay, to be fair, martial prowess is not the only thing that we need to rely on here. If we did, I still think Aslan would have the edge because he's able to do things like transform people that aren't even in the same time zone as he is and like create planets and stars. But like you talk about how Amaterasu has god power and stuff even when she's in her wolf form, but like she takes her wolf form 100 years before the start of the actual game when she comes to Japan to fight Orochi. And this canonically represents her at the maximum possible power while in her wolf form. But she still has to sit back for actual literal years watching Orochi munch on maidens from Kamiki village, waiting for someone else to come along and help her kill the monster. And during this fight, she actually dies from the poison she takes on. And this is, again, her at full wolfy power, and she has to wait for 100 years before she can come back to the world severely weakened. Like, that's her martial prowess at best.
All right, I knew you were going to bring up Orochi at his fucking best. And by the way, Orochi is like this extra-dimensional crazy fuck-off thing. There was a goddamn prophecy involved, and we all hate prophecies for the same fucking reason, because they cheapen stories. Sorry, but that's how fairy tales go. The prophesied person to help her defeat Orochi at his strongest was Nagi. So she had to wait around and protect Kamiki Village for Nagi to be born, and then they worked together.
She didn't do that great of a job. Orochi kept on eating maidens every year, and she just watched.
She could not defeat Orochi at his most powerful. Are you saying Aslan could have?
Yeah.
Even though the prophecy
Aslan would have turned him into a donkey.
Even though the prophecy person to defeat Orochi was Nagi.
Look, a prophecy is knowing the future. It's like, I can give you a book and tell you what's going to happen on page 200. That's not a prophecy. That doesn't like lock in what needs to happen. I just know what's going to happen. The prophecy says there's only one person that can kill Orochi. That just definitively means that Amaterasu is not strong enough to kill him.
Well, y'all are sitting over here trying to slam that Amaterasu uses other gods to like help her out, and then maybe 2 paragraphs later you go ahead and mention the river god. It sounds like you also rely on other spirits and deities.
Yeah, but the thing is, Amaterasu's ability to draw on the power of other gods is finite. You know, she's limited by the amount of ink she has. If she runs out of that...
Which is a fuck ton.
Yeah, but she's limited. Aslan is able to call on talking animals, centaurs, dwarfs, fauns, giants, mermaids, pegasi,
Apparently the
satyrs,
god of
unicorns,
sex.
no fewer than 4 types of nymph. Like, these are the sorts of people he can call upon at any time. How many followers do you see Amaterasu have in Okami?
How does he call on them like they're Pokemon? What is he doing?
Yeah, he doesn't call on them outside of Narnia. What you're referring to are the residents of Narnia that all know who Aslan is already, so that when he shows up, they're all like, oh, Aslan is here, awesome. That's assuming he hasn't been gone for so long that they've forgotten about him. There's no evidence to suggest that he can call on any of these things outside of Narnia. None.
There is, though. Aslan says that he exists in Narnia as Aslan, but he also exists in every other world. You know, like, that's why he's Jesus. Like, to C.S. Lewis, Aslan is canonically Jesus. He's just the Jesus of a different world. So he exists as this sort of constant throughout all worlds.
The fact that Aslan is Jesus in all worlds doesn't mean that in other worlds he gets to summon centaurs.
And besides that, anyone who hears his name, regardless of whether they're from Narnia or not, experiences this sensation of, like, just being overwhelmed by his power.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's not true. Anyone who hears his name or sees him in presence thinks one of 2 things. Either they get this kind of fuzzy feeling inside of him, or they get this feeling of, like, absolute hatred. It's at least half and half.
Are you suggesting that the people who hate Aslan, if they met him, would be big Amaterasu fans? Because I don't feel like that's how that's going to work either. Like, it's not going to be people who are like, you know what, I just hate cats a lot.
Amaterasu has a different method of gaining followers. Aslan doesn't really have a method of gaining followers. He looks at you, and if you feel fuzzy toward him, then you were with him all along, essentially. And if you didn't, you're never going to be part of the gang.
Yeah, that's not...
No, that's not true, though, because if that was the case, then Edmund would have been fucked, and he went and rescued Edmund's dumbass.
Okay, so now it's time for Team Amaterasu to have their rebuttals.
Hi,
Team
guys.
Team Amaterasu, by the way, it only looks like I'm staring at your melons.
Please, tell me. I wish you had me on video right now.
gestures that Kit is
I'm pulling
doing
out
is so
full,
good.
I can
like,
hear
piss.
them. I can hear them.
I haven't seen her
Can you hear
this...
my hands moving?
I haven't seen her this feisty since Kenshin.
Please fucking tell me how Aslan would kick Orochi's ass by summoning his Pokemon followers. Like, how is he gonna do it? If he can do it better than Amaterasu.
He can turn him into a goat?
Is that what he does?
Yeah, he turns...
does it to a fucking human.
He turns an incredibly powerful divine being into a goat.
I mean, he ends
does it
Narnia.
once to a human.
The dude makes planets. Like, you talk about how Amaterasu can, like, summon vines and make trees bloom. Aslan created the entirety of the plant life on Narnia.
If he's so damn strong, why isn't he hitting the streets and doing this stuff himself?
Because
Why
he's
is he
the sort
so
of person,
inactive?
because he's the sort of person who inspires other people, which we've established established is a legitimate means of defeating this challenge. If what you're saying is Amaterasu is much worse at that, meaning she can only rely on herself, and she's a lot less skilled and a lot less powerful than Aslan is.
No, my dude.
Well,
She inspires people by actually hitting the streets. So she's approaching this in two ways. By doing the thing, and then people are like, holy shit, that god is looking out for us. Now I believe in them, and now I'm also going to do the thing.
You are arguing simultaneously that Aslan is not going to combat threats directly, but rather inspire others to do it for him. You're also leaning extremely heavily on Aslan's pure, raw magical ability. Aslan does not bring his godlike powers to bay directly on almost anything. He is the kind of guy who stays on the sideline, does everything very indirectly. Yes, he created Narnia, and yes, he destroyed Narnia, but in between, he did very little when it comes to directly using his magical abilities to combat a threat or to inspire others.
To be honest, he doesn't really need to do a lot. Jadis the White Witch in Wardrobe was ruling over this Christmasless eternal winter in Narnia for 100 years, but all it took was for Aslan to, quote, be on the move, and immediately, like, the ice begins to melt. Aslan gets out of bed, and Santa Claus spontaneously appears. Like, that's the level of power we're talking about.
Okay, so you can summon Santa Claus to fight Orochi. Is that your plan?
I mean,
Dude, if
I've been a
Orochi
good boy and
gets
I deserve a spear that can kill Orochi. That's what I think.
Can our next match be Santa Claus versus Orochi?
When Orochi gets that scooter he always wanted, things are gonna be different.
He can't do it until the humans come to his realm. It does not happen that way. If he is so fucking awesome at protecting his place, why did he wait 100 years? If he's so awesome at protecting his shit, why didn't he do anything when Narnia was invaded and conquered by the Telmarines?
Okay, to that I want to say, this fight about Tristram is whenever Aslan is there. I totally grant you. Aslan leaves and shit does fall apart, but that's not really the debate that we're having. What we're having is, if each of them is there and able to do this, then what would that fight look like? Not, what if Aslan was there for a little while and then left and came back in 200 years?
That's how he does shit, though. Like, we're talking about a long-term thing. Like, is he going to inspire people? It's hard to inspire people when you take off for long periods of time.
People fucking care about him even up to the last battle. Like, people
A few?
are freaked out by that guy dressed as a fake Aslan.
What about the dwarves who were like, oh, the Aslan you were talking about is false? You know what? Screw you too. We don't even believe in fucking Aslan. And even when those dwarves go to heaven, they wind up in heaven. They don't notice they're there because they're so close-minded. Aslan, like, walks up to them, tries to touch them, tries to breathe on them. He summons, like, a feast for them to eat. He is completely unable to make himself known to them.
Because
These
it's a
people
prison of the mind, Miles.
Yeah, dude.
They decided not
to respond to that Team Aslan, and then you're going to be out of time.
Amaterasu would not have been able to convert those dwarves either. It's like we said earlier. The sorts of people that follow Aslan are the sorts of people that would follow Amaterasu. So we're not arguing over who's going to be able to get the greedy to their side or the evil to their side. We're arguing over the same flock. So it's more about who can appeal to the good in people as opposed to who can appeal to these greedy, short-sighted dwarves. Miles, you keep bringing up the fact that Aslan leaves and the people of Narnia forget about him and stop worshipping him. We do see that no matter how much time passes, there are always people in Narnia who worship him. His followers do diminish somewhat over time, but we're talking about millennia in terms of the Narnia storyline. In contrast, when Amaterasu is killed by Orochi, 100 years pass, and she returns to Japan to find that no one believes in the gods anymore. That's why there's such a big quest for her to regain her followers. After 100 years. That's the sort of difference we're talking about here.
Dude, Susan doesn't believe in him after, like, 2 years.
They believe in the gods, it's just...
She's one of the core four.
They just don't know that the gods will help them.
All right, you did it. You're wonderful. You're all great.
I'm gonna put down my hackles. Oh, they're so raised. So raised.
All the hackles.
Oh no, are you going to use your Golden Fury attack? Or your Brown Rage attack?
Oh, that you freaky, Dan. Cochino.
I'm just saying, like, Your most impressive attacks are one where you take an explosive dump on someone.
Dan, we're done.
Poop.
Look, it's
as
not,
are yours,
it's not
Dan.
an Okami
As
match.
are yours.
It's not an Okami match unless we talk about the fact that Amaterasu urinates on people.
Yeah, it's just
Why wasn't this brought up in the match? That could have really been. That could
She's
really
a wolf. She is a wolf.
All right.
I didn't think we needed to bring it up, Colin, because in our arguments we essentially urinated on our opponent.
Well, you urinated on something.
Okay.
Yeah, your
Hey guys,
face.
guess what?
What?
It's the lightning round.
Oh!
Oh, I did that.
Oh.
I did that because I can fucking control lightning.
Yeah, well, it was a
It's really
prophecy,
too
so I
bad
knew
you
it was
guys
coming.
couldn't awaken the lightning god because you don't have the fucking stones for it.
Jeez. Do I need to separate you two? Should I be worried?
Colin, this is what happens when we record this late. We get
This is what
real
happens
loopy.
when you keep a cat and a dog in the same house. They just don't get along.
Usually the dog backs down, but not this time.
After a long and difficult battle through the catacombs and caves and unfathomable hellish landscapes that endlessly wind and twist beneath the Tristram Cathedral, Aslan and Amaterasu find themselves standing in Diablo's throne room. But they are surprised to find that his throne is empty. They ask around to some of the lesser demons that are hanging around, and no one's really sure what happened to Diablo, but the rumor is he moved because his dad got a new job in a different part of town, and now he's going to some place called Blizzard High?
Oh god. Okay.
His new house happened to be right across the street from a magic shop, and that's when his life changed.
So, our heroes have won the day, but in some ways, it's a Pyrrhic victory, because although the town of Tristram is saved, the great god animal who wandered into Diablo's throne room and found it empty is not exactly the sort of god animal that they sing songs about. But you know, the people of Tristram and the surrounding region of Conduris are grateful, and Aslan and Amaterasu enjoy a few centuries of steady worship as local cults. But then, you know, the world eventually kinda moves on. And Sanctuary, a land now devoid of demons and with fading magic, enters the modern era. And eventually, the modern world of Sanctuary starts to look a lot like Earth, 21st century Earth. Just like Earth, there are commuter trains and ground beef tacos and hashtags. Just like the Earth we know, the most popular televised event in the world are pet shows.
Is it?
God.
In order to attempt to appeal to the
jeez.
current generation and recover their failing religions, you know, having to compete with television and Spotify and whatever the kids are into, Candy Crush.
Oh man, that
Aslan-
the god of the internet is so strong.
Yeah.
A dark god. It must be taken down.
Aslan and Amaterasu decide once again to walk among the world of mortals, but this time doing so in a pet show. Advocates, when the judges do examine you, how will you perform in terms of your breed conformity? Do you have a healthy coat? Are you leash trained? Do you know any tricks? Can you do something like, I don't know, jumping over hurdles or sheep herding? Also, when the moment comes, it's important that you not poop on the judges. Also very important in Smash Fiction, I'd like to point out. And
Well, that's a bigger problem for one side than the other.
going beyond the scope of this expo, will your character perhaps do something adorable during the expo that will end up being some sort of viral video that will blow up the internet? Because as we know, there's nothing that the internet likes more than adorable animals, and there's no way to get more followers than by getting them likes. Also, subscribe to us on iTunes or, you know, your podcatcher of choice.
Nice.
And if you do so, we'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
I've heard that somewhere.
Colin, have
All
you
right.
become unstuck in time?
Team Aslan went first in the regular round, so Team Amaterasu will go first in the lightning round.
All right. Well, in terms of breed conformity, she is a fucking god wolf. So she is, yes, she conforms to the this fucking species that is wolf. And she is the god version of it. So yes, she is gorgeous. Well behaved. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, she is a wild animal. She's certainly not gonna, like, maul people unless they're asking for it. Okay, you know what? I'll admit, maybe a little pee here and there if you're an asshole.
I was gonna say that you know, talents and tricks. I think painting is a pretty good one. Do you remember that Do you remember that YouTube video where that went viral a few years ago with the elephant painting the flower? Like
Yes.
That's the kind of shit that we're dealing with here. Our opposition, I mean, Aslan. What? First of all, dude is way too big to be a regular lion. So there goes your breed conformity right there. I don't know what you guys are feeding him, but it's probably corn-based, and so, like, he's really unhealthy and is going to be ripping out godlike farts.
Sorry,
all the
which
time.
wolf breed
probably
has
have
the
hip
red
dysplasia,
markings on
right?
its fur, by the way?
By godlike... Wait your turn, motherfucker.
She's a white wolf. You think these people are of faith? Like, not yet. Once they see her sweet stunts, they will be of faith, and then they're gonna see those red markings.
Animals doing art is kind of a huge thing online. People are gonna love that shit, and you know, the alternative is what? Like this big lion, you know, making stupid faces. I just, he's probably gonna be disqualified because he eats like jelly beans.
Yeah, and when that art literally makes the sun or moon rise, I think we're gonna get a few claps from the audience, right?
I might have to throw out that last comment, because, I mean, although your characters are technically gods, your farts are not, so the whole godlike farts is probably going to have to earn you a yellow card, Miles.
I didn't mean godlike in terms of, like, the farts are holy.
You're on notice, sir. You're on notice.
No, let me just, hold on. Let me just say... I was merely saying that they were godlike in terms of their sound. They broke the barrier.
Is this really the hair you want to split here, dude? The godlike
This
farts?
is the hill I'm gonna die on.
Because of farts.
You know what? It's
All right.
worthy. You know what, Miles?
Team
I
Aslan,
agree.
what do you have to say
Good
to that?
choice.
Oh, gosh.
And do you, in fact, have hip dysplasia, as Miles seemed to indicate?
Oh, certainly not. I mean, in the silver chair, like, Aslan is described as being so bright and real and strong that everything else began at once to look pale and shadowy compared with him. So I feel like in terms of breed conformity, like, they have to rewrite the book when they see him because they realize they're wrong and that this is what the breed should look like.
All lions are like that.
Well, they should. They should be.
He's the platonic ideal of a
It's like someone
lion.
rewriting the book on a
should-
liger. It's like, oh,
I
fuck.
should have the best record on this podcast all the time. Just make it so.
MeganBob, do you have anything you wanna say?
I have a couple things. Yes, he's the platonic ideal of a lion, so I don't see why anybody would suggest that. Of course, he doesn't look like other lions because other lions are shit next to him. Anyway, that aside,
Poor Simba.
he cannot poop or pee because he is a god and has no digestion. So, like,
It's kind of the opposite of my comment.
this does not exist. There would be no situation in which that would be a problem.
How does not having a digestive system fit into breed conformity, do you guys think?
I mean, do they do
are you
x-rays
doing a
of... Do they...
vivisection experiment?
Yeah.
What the fuck kind of show
That's
is
fair.
this, Colin?
That's fair.
They definitely
Look,
check for nuts. Does he have nuts?
Yeah.
I mean, the dude can shapeshift, so yeah, I'm pretty
Right.
sure
He's gonna
he
give
can
him some-
create
Yeah, no,
some nuts
if
if
you
he
wanted
needs
to
it.
Give
have
him
some
some
big
truck
old
nuts.
lion balls, he can make that happen if he needs to.
I really want the judge's hand to be on his balls right at the moment they realize it's actually Jesus.
And Jesus just goes, eh.
So anyway, now that
far
we're talking about groping
as,
Jesus.
like viral content. What is going to go viral is so it's summer. This is a really good time for this. And he's got a big old mane. Is going to be flower crowns. There is going to be like a bunch of other little animals that are going to gather around him and children, small children that look ridiculously tiny next to him. Like they look like toys. Going up to him as he sort of like lounges and they just braid flowers into his beautiful mane until he looks even more fucking magical than he already normally does.
That's one video that's going to be up of him. I think the other one is going to be titled, "You Won't Believe the Liam Neeson impression that this lion can do." And it's just it's just him delivering that monologue from Taken. And that just like breaks the internet.
That is
I'm a lion with a particular set of skills.
Exactly.
That is a bizarrely Jesus lion.
Yeah, well, you know, he's open-minded. That's fine. He likes watching movies.
No, it's not.
What, quoting
also-
Liam Neeson is against the Bible?
It's in
For real?
Leviticus. Read a book, specifically the
character
good
is-
book.
Oh, the other thing that he's going to do It's going to take, he has to do this in basically an airplane hangar. But, you know, Maru, that one cat who likes to jump into boxes and then slide on her belly on the boxes, is somebody's going to get like a giant fridge box, probably like maybe 2 fridge boxes duct taped together. And then Aslan's going to get a running start and then flop on his belly and slide on the box all the way across the airplane hangar. And then he's going to make like happy lion noise, like,
and then he's just going to break dance on it.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Better hope that's not a ginger cat who's going to betray him.
I really do want to see, majestic Aslan unable to resist sitting in a cardboard box.
I mean, you see him being real playful after he gets resurrected in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like, he even plays around with the girls for a little bit. So I think there's more than a little bit of kitty in him.
Yeah,
All right.
Also him totally fucking stoned on catnip. Him just like going to town on a bowl of steaks.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, all this talk about kitties and puppies just has me going all inside. So I'm gonna go like hop on Tumblr and just like look at kitties and doggies for a bit and think about things.
I recommend fuckyeahdoggos.com.
Fuck yeah, doggos.
Oh,
damn it! I didn't do a "they're all good boys" joke. Okay,
no, do it now.
I'll do one after I get back, and y'all act all surprised and laugh like I didn't tell you I was going to do a "they're all good boys." So
fair enough. So one of the reasons I think I was so equally feisty to Kit when I came into the show was because I probably did more research for this match than I've done for any other match in the history of this podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Because over the course of the last 2 weeks, I decided to reread Narnia.
Why?
Dude!
Yep.
I looked at the wikis, like, at first I started doing research and I was like, dude, I don't remember any of this. Because I read those books when I was a kid, but you miss so much stuff. Like, the broad strokes you remember, but, like, you miss so many details. And it was a long time ago, so I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna reread them. They're short books. I didn't get all the way through. I actually stopped, I didn't read Voyage again or Silverchair again, because Aslan is kind of very tangentially in those books. And when I was getting to a certain point, I was like, you know what? I'm skipping ahead to Last Battle because, like, that's a big one.
So yeah, pretty important.
But dude, holy shit. I had not read those books as an adult.
They're very weird.
Good lord. There is a lot there.
Yeah, it's very
There's
a lot of racist, sexist stuff.
There's a lot of look at how awful these brown people are, and at one point I think somebody like uses the word, somebody says the word girl and somebody else says don't say bad words.
Oh, no, that was about like dogs saying that they use human names as an insult, and the other dogs saying like, no, don't say that.
Well, because presumably that's their equivalent of bitch.
But when they said boy, it was fine.
Yeah,
right.
That was weird.
Yeah, because that's how that's what we do with dog gender.
I'm just saying, it's like, but there's also a lot of sexist stuff there too.
Yeah, well, because there's like multiple female villains.
I mean, beyond that, and also it's like, there's a lot of stuff about, you know, the nature of girls, and, you know, Susan stops believing because she's too busy dating boys and buying clothes.
I mean, that's how.
What is she supposed to put in the wardrobe? Fuck you want
Look,
from us.
when you put clothes in the wardrobe, you're putting a barrier between you and Narnia. I think that's a very clear, literal thing.
Okay, so clothes come between me and Jesus, but like I can't be naked. What the fuck do you want from me?
Yeah, you just wear one outfit and you never take it off, and then that's problem solved.
A robe.
But the funniest thing to me though is how much C.S. Lewis hated schools.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Miles about that.
Every single book, he just, like, he fucking, at the end of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, he's like, and they all became kings and queens, and everybody was happy, and nobody had to go to school ever again.
Well, if they had, like, a really traumatic school experience.
Yeah, if you read his biography, you can definitely understand, like, why that happened.
Is he British, or like, is he?
He's from Northern Ireland, but he's Anglo-Irish, so he's sort of a mix of those things.
I remember there's at least 2 British works, one of them being the Pink Floyd song, like, where they are talking about, like, basically it's about, like, how shitty school is. And I'm just
Another Brick in the Wall? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what was happening in British schools back in the day?
Yeah.
Like, because this keeps coming up. So I'm just like, oh, yeah, I think it's got to be.
Things.
Oof.
I'm here, by the way. I just been listening.
Hey, Colin.
I was off doing another thing, and then I heard the words Pink Floyd, and I was just like, "Wah!" Like, and then I just immediately.
Colin, Narnia is weird. Narnia is
wanna-
weird to read as an
I
adult.
want to ask something though about Narnia. So even though it's a really weird place, if you look too closely at it, is there some part of you that like there's one scene in it that is still as magical as it was then?
Mr. Fox.
Santa Claus.
The lantern waste gets me every time. Like that lamppost glowing in the darkness and just being in the middle of the woods. Fuck, man. That's amazing.
See, honestly, for me, it's not even Narnia. It's the Wood Between the Worlds.
Oh, that's cool too.
The magic rings that transport you. Like, I was really into that stuff.
All I have to say is, why are you so mad, Bront? You're all good dogs.
I don't even know what that means, but it's really good.
Oh boy, I'll tell you that story later.
Thank you, Miles. That's an appropriate amount of laughing.
I demand at least 7 full seconds of laughter for every joke I make.
All right, 11 out of 10. Good job.
Some nice internet talk.
So yeah, this was a match. You know how ordinarily we say something like, wow, you guys both really convinced me that your characters are very strong and they have a lot of powers and they're so crazy, like these characters are so good. Like, this time you guys both convinced me that your opponent's characters had a lot of flaws. That you guys
Don't even know what you're talking about.
I think that more so than a lot of other matches, everyone was arguing less about why their characters were good and more about why the other ones were shit. Like, it was just, it was just like so much tea, so much shade.
The argument in favor of our characters being good is they're a god.
Right,
so,
and that's kind of all you have to say is like, yeah. So, okay. This was one of those ones, I think, where there's 2 characters, and it seems like the one who, at his best, seems to be the stronger one, seems to be Aslan. It's a sort of thing where he's like, he made the world, and he theoretically has access to all of the powers that he did when he made the world, and he just does dumb, crazy shit that doesn't make any sense. And a lot of that, I think, becomes because of the fact that the media that he's from originally was books. And so he's a symbolic figure. He represents things. And so he does things that are sort of guided by a sort of magical thinking, symbolic logic kind of thing. And so kind of like statting him out on a character sheet is somewhat problematic because he's Jesus.
Well said.
You can't stat Jesus.
Right.
People get offended.
And like, could Aslan microwave a burrito so hot that he himself could not eat it? Is the question. And so he's just a weird one. Whereas Amaterasu, on the other hand, is a video game character. And what that means is we have a much better sense of how she operates in the world and what she can do and what she can't do. She's much more consistent in her powers and in her abilities. And Aslan at his best is stronger, but then also there's times like, okay, he can make the world, so why doesn't he just like make Jadis explode with his mind powers because he's Jesus? Like,
Yeah, man. God's work in mysterious ways.
Jesus
Right, and then-
geniusly made people
and because he actually is not a symbol of Jesus, but because he actually is Jesus, then in having this conversation, you end up having the whole problem of evil discussion of like, if Aslan exists, then why is there Jadis and why is there suffering? And this is the kind of question that I have to answer in order to make a ruling on this podcast, is why is there evil in the world if Aslan is all powerful and he's Jesus? So,
Look what you did! You broke Colin, you monsters!
Colin, this was.
and I'm the guy who doesn't want us to talk about gods on this podcast.
How did you get roped into being judge?
So,
Colin, I'm so glad you're the judge for this one.
So, anyway, all of that being said, what I think it comes down to is Dan was bringing up a lot of stuff about Aslan being all-powerful and making the world and unmaking the world and stuff like that. And Miles was just bringing up, yeah, so why doesn't he do that stuff in the books? And he doesn't do that stuff. And you mentioned, Miles, that I was really persuaded by a lot of the arguments about him being very inconsistent with his affection and working in mysterious ways and being all cryptic and bullshit and like weaselly in the way that a lot of religions are, in a way that Amaterasu simply is not. Amaterasu is much more dedicated to just being good and doing good. And good for Amaterasu is an action, and for Aslan, good is him. And he's in charge of the world, and if you want to get right, you got to get right with him. But Amaterasu is an embodiment of good in the sense that she just does good and is good, but is less demanding of her followers. And I kind of feel like in the end, that's what's going to be more effective. Her powers are more consistent. She's just a more solid, more reliable thing. Like, I'll imagine, like, if Aslan really can do all that stuff that you say he can do, guys, like, that's, you know, the unmaking the worlds and unmaking the worlds, then if he does that in this match, then he's totally going to win. But he doesn't do that stuff in the books. He just simply doesn't, you know? And so I kind of have to rule this way on this one, although it is, you know, it is very close. There's a very good argument to be made for the other side.
It's totally worth it to hear Colin's total meltdown over trying to decide like the most fundamental questions of faith in this stupid podcast. So.
You know,
Congratulations, kid.
You know what's better than hearing that meltdown, Dan?
What's that?
Hearing that meltdown and then winning.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure it is. Like, it is.
Yeah, I don't know, Miss. So
I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like Dan and I were like we felt like this was the winning side, but it wasn't because we were like diehard Aslan fans.
No, absolutely not. We probably should put a disclaimer or something at the beginning saying that we're not actually talking about Jesus, except that we are.
No, we
C.S.
are
Lewis
talking
made
about
us-
Jesus, though.
C.S. Lewis
He
made us do
is
it.
Jesus. He just is lying Jesus in this world, but he's like not lying Jesus in
No,
other
he's someone's idea of Jesus in a fairy tale.
Yeah.
He is in the way that if we were making an episode about Jesus as he appears in like the Temptation of Christ, the Last Temptation of Christ, or the Passion of the Christ, we would be talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
To that same degree,
somebody's
are we
story,
talking about
right.
Jesus? Yes,
Right.
it is not the Bible.
It would.
And Amaterasu
Yeah, for
is
sure.
not the actual Shinto Amaterasu either. So
Yes,
yeah,
That's
these
right.
guys are the same.
That's right.
I do want to say I find it really charming that C.S. Lewis essentially wrote Bible fan fiction and got hella famous for it.
But what if Jesus was like a lion?
So what you're saying is it's exactly like 50 Shades of Grey. That's what you're saying.
I just
Shouldn't Jesus be a lamb? I guess that
he
would
becomes
you know
a lamb
what?
at some point
Yeah,
in
he does.
Narnia.
Okay, that's good.
the only thing I just want to make it clear that this podcast is not in the business of saying that either Amaterasu or Jesus is a fictional character. Don't fucking at
Nor
us.
that one could beat the other.
Okay, I just want to point out before I start the thanks, both Jeep Rhyme and Cosplay Fiend want Imperious Rex to be the new Doom.
Well,
So
we'll see.
I'm
So-
down. Imperious Rex, motherfucker.
So good job, Hub. Good job. Okay. And Twitter. Thank you to Sharon Holden Schneiderman. Tighten Up the Defense, Rafael Medina, Sam Burglar, Florian, Jake the Fake Jake, Neil Butler, Tyler Folman, Cosplay Fiend, Cosplay D, Dan Williams, Add a Son of a Gun, Alan Kingsley, Casket, Sabina Mosher, and Vander Turner for retweeting or just tweeting about us. On Tumblr, thank you to Sid Rabbit Blog, Changing Shades, Fat Blunt 69, The
Yeah.
Legend,
Nice.
and G Prime, thank you for reblogging our stuff. On Facebook, thank you to Hub and Tighten Up the Defense, Robert Scott Ramsey, and Jeffrey Ketchum for sharing our episodes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
And thanks also to our featured patrons this week, Florian Jonas Kramer and Jeffrey Ketchum, who were a couple of extra cantankerous Diablo PCs this week. So if you too would like a strange NPC identity foisted upon you unexpectedly in one episode, check out our Patreon page and consider becoming a patron.
Also, didn't one of our most vocal fans suggest this match?
They sure did.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you so much to Cosplay Fiend for
Cosplay
suggesting
Fiend.
this.
Cosplay Fiend.
Yep. Cosplay Fiend suggested this one. I also wanted to say our second anniversary show is coming up. We'd love to have another episode in the vein of our first anniversary episode where we take questions from all of our listeners. So feel free to send in questions to us, your hosts, via our usual email and social media channels. But also, Feel free to send in your emails and questions to the characters and NPCs of Extraordinary League, and we will answer them in character.
That's awesome.
Make Dan do nothing but Cambot.
I'm kind of wondering how many are going to be addressed to the pelican lizards of Nexus City.
God. I'll write something.
I just want to hear you do whatever the hell accent that was. What was it?
Belgian?
Belgian, that's the one.
Philippe Laurent. Oh, God, never again. Anyway.
No matter what happens, the answer is always
Sure. If all goes according to plan, our second anniversary episode is going to be going up on the 1st of August. So hopefully try to get your emails and queries in a couple of days in advance at the latest so that we have enough time to actually record and edit the episode and get it out on time. Thanks.
Thank you so very much for listening to this week's episode of Smash Fiction. Next week, Edie versus Cortana.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight. But Tosh is in the details. Peter and
I don't get that one.
Narnia joke!
You have
Tosh is the
devil.
Is the devil in Narnia.
That was really fucking good, Miles. A million high fives.
Daniel Tosh is the devil in Narnia?
Yep.
No, Daniel Tosh is the devil here on Earth.
Team Aslan went... Aslan. Team Aslan went...
Oh, y'all have been doing fucking doing it all night. Just do what you want.
Right. There's just gonna be a super cut at the end of the episode. Of us not being able to say Aslan. Aslan?
Aslan.
I will do my best.
Not Aslan.
Not Aslan.
Aslan?
Aslan.
Aslan?
Aslan.
It's Aslan Aslan.
Aslan.
Aslan?
Aslan's